Don't bring me down. Don't bring me, don't.
Welcome back, you guys. So today we're going to be running a batch of Glock 17 slides. Now, I've done this in the past for several companies where they'll send me a batch of slides. Sometimes they're a small batch of 10, sometimes they're a big batch of 100. And what we do is we run a series of patterns on them, whether it's a front or a side or a back or whatever they're after. And then we go ahead and get them cranked out and they get them back to them and you know, they do their thing with them. But I figured since a small batch has come in, I would go ahead and just kind of demonstrate the process of what we're going to do to get the repeatability, because what we want is consistency across the batch. We don't really want, you know, variables or things aren't cut the right way, or some have tool marks and some don't have tool marks and things like that. So we're going to try to stay away from that, and we're going to try to get into the repeatability mode where we're pumping out the same product every time. Now, with that being said, unfortunately on my CNC I have to do these one at a time, which is kind of annoying, so I have to go ahead and set those up and cue those up exactly the same every time. And I've got a couple of jig blocks that help me do that, but it's a slow process. And that's one of the reasons why I did buy a new Tormach, and that's one of the reasons why I do want to start doing these as a batch. So we're going to talk just a little bit more about that and where my future goals are, you know, getting out of the machine I have and into the machine that I need, and just how that's going to simplify a process like this. So with that being said, guys, what we're going to do is we're going to run these. It's not a whole lot of footage you're going to see because it's the same across 10, but I'm going to go ahead and get some footage for you guys. I'm going to go ahead and get these done, and then we're going to talk about them a little bit, and we'll just, that's where we're going to start. So I'm going to get you guys over to the CNC, and let's go ahead and get one of these cut. Now that you guys have had the opportunity to see how the process starts to completed, let's just show each one of those steps. Once we, you know, get it onto the CNC, it gets cut on the CNC. What do we have to do to finish it, and what, you know, what exactly do we have here? So obviously we first started with a slide. We put it in the vise, right? And we go ahead and get our cutter set up where it needs to go. At that point, you watch the footage, and it shows you that it cuts this side first, and then it cuts that side. Now the deal is I'm really specific on the patterns I make and what I turn out, and I want stuff to be even and proportional and appropriate and that kind of stuff. I don't want to just cut things and they, you know, oh, it looks good, well, let's leave it. And with that being said, this side pocket comes right down to where it ends right on the ledge of here. So you can see where it rolls, and then you can see there's a flat spot here. Let's move you a little closer. So let me take my screwdriver here and I'll show you a little bit better. So we have a flat side here, and then right here we have our edge, and then it rolls. The idea is to start from the top and come down to where that flat part starts. And by doing so, what ends up happening is the pocket is just far enough down to punch out the bottom. Now, that means if you're not correct in the CNC, if you're a little high, you're a little low. If you're too low, what'll happen is that'll fall out. If you're too high, what'll happen is it'll be too thick and it won't punch out. So what we end up doing is we take a screwdriver and we pop these out, okay? And then we basically have stuff inside that we've got to, you know, we've got to clean all this stuff out. So that brings us kind of to here. So once you get a clean one, it kind of looks like this. You get all your material out. You still have all your cutting marks here. Okay, so you're still going to see your marks on the wall and down here. And then what we do is we go ahead and we run that through the sandblaster. And once we get it through the sandblaster, peels all that off. You don't get to see any tool marks anymore. Everything's good to go. I run the sandblaster on the inside as well as the outside. So guys, what we're going to do now is I've got a couple more I have to finish before I can move forward with this video, because as you can see I had to use one that was untouched. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up the entire project of everything that needs to be done. Then let's go ahead and get one of these slides mounted into an actual frame with a barrel and see what it looks like. So let me just bring you back right here in a couple minutes after I'm all set. Everything is all said and done. I was able to complete all 10 of the slides. They all matched. They all came out super, super nice. I went ahead and moved them over here onto the to the Tormach 770 because I wanted to talk about that briefly. But before we get to that, I did want to show you one of them. This is a Gen 4 lower. Of course, the upper is a Gen 3. That slide is so it doesn't fit like it's supposed to, and there's no spring in there where the barrel is, so you can kind of see the barrel moving. But the idea behind it is to give you the just the overall image of what it would look like if you were to build one of these. So, and it looks pretty nice. I mean, you can see some nice barrel. You know, it's a basic design. It's nothing advanced or anything, but it's something that's a little step outside of the normal for just purchasing a slide that you can't see any barrel and or that doesn't have, you know, any design on the top. So it's a little, it kind of meets that adding a little bit to something and not a whole lot to the overall of the slide. So it gives you that little bit more something to kind of look at, something that kind of draws that attention in and shows that you know, that you're having some upgrade and some things like that, but yet it's not over the top. So guys, with that being said, this is kind of it as far as the video goes. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. We haven't really talked about a whole lot of the production side of running things for companies. This, like I said before earlier in the video, this isn't the first time I've done this. It just happens to be the most current batch that was sent to me, so I figured I'd go ahead and, you know, get you guys out a video on that. And to the other people that are out there, if you're a company and you do this kind of stuff where you've got slides and you set up at a gun show, or you set up a booth or a table of some sorts or display case even at your gun shop, you know, reach out if you're wanting something done. I've got different patterns that I can run, stuff that's not going to really break the bank. I do have some patterns that are specific to companies that I'm kind of locked down with. So some stuff I cannot offer to other people, but you can always provide a design, and we can always discuss a cost based off of how many slides you want to send me. So there's lots of room for negotiation there as far as what you may need that fits your needs and what you have as your wants there. So with that being said, let's talk about the Tormach just a little bit here. The reason why it's a difficult process of doing batch slides in the existing machine is because it's not a pallet-based system or a multi-vice system. So you're basically setting it up and you're pulling it out. You know, you're doing one and you're pulling it out and you're putting another one in, you're doing it, and then you're pulling it out and you're putting another one in. And there's nothing wrong with that. You just got to cue them up and set them up and square them up and make sure they're all accurate, and then you get the same results every time. So there's nothing wrong with doing it like that. However, if you've gone back and seen some of my other videos, I explain a little bit more in depth why I'm getting out of the machine I have and into the new machine. It's not that there's any fault with the machine that I have, it's that there's a loss of functionality, and I'm looking for those extra things where the tool changers, the enclosure, the fourth axis that's integrated. And in this particular case, I would like to utilize this machine for a palleted system. So what that means is we would actually either have, there's a couple different ways you can do it, but basically we'd either have multiple vices and we would run like a slide over here, and then it would pick up and cut a slide over here, and then I would be able to swap those out and run 2 at a time or 4 at a time. That would be if we're running multiple vices. Now, if we're doing a pallet-based system, what we would do is we would actually end up taking a piece of billet, put it on the table, fix it down, and I would cut it specific for these slides. Then these slides would sit into grooves on the pallet, and then they would get clamped down. So then I would take the machine and make sure everything is straight on there, you know, front to back, left to right. And then what would happen is I would then go ahead and run a batch of 5 or 10 or 20, whatever I built that pallet for, and we would run them all at one time, so I don't have to, you know, do as many swap outs and as many, you know, testing and tuning and making sure that one, the machine's on, and two, that the piece is square and straight in there. We kind of eliminate a lot of that, and we do most of that setup work one time, and we do more, you know, cut time, and then we do once again another big setup, and then we do another big cut time. So instead of doing, you know, individual passes and runs, I would be able to one, I'd be able to save you guys more money because it doesn't cost as much to run something like that, because once it's set up, I don't have the extra minutes of pulling them off and putting them on and squaring them up and using a Heimer and making sure they're on. So there's going to be some setup time there that I'm going to save, and of course it's going to save you guys money. So that's just kind of one of those things. Now with that, you know, with that being said, guys, if you enjoy the channel and you like where we're going with this, because we've got a lot of different things, we've got a big, I'm going to say a big year ahead of us. We have a couple months left in the year, but I see it being a couple months before we get this machine fully functional where I want it to be. So we've got a big year coming up next year, and a lot of that stuff's going to be geared around the Tormach. Most all of it, unless it's probably laser work, will be geared on the Tormach. I don't foresee using the other machine for much stuff once the Tormach is fully functional and running. So guys, we just have a lot of cool projects that are coming up. We are going to be doing some pallet-based systems, some multiple vice systems like that. Obviously, we have more gun stuff that we're going to be doing, more slides, different stuff, and we have some big projects. So, and with that, you know, Some of those big projects are going to be on the Tormach, and some of them are going to be done on the Precision Matthews. So we're just going to kind of work through those as we go, and it'll be a transitional time for me to get out of one machine and into another. So it's going to be a little bit of learning and a little bit of heartache, I'm sure, just getting speeds and feeds down correctly and tool changing down correctly and things like that. So if that's the kind of stuff that you're interested in, if that's the kind of stuff that you like, kind of gives you, you know, a little bit of an interest of something to do or something to watch, I try to crank out a video every couple of days if I can. There may be a week that goes by that you don't get anything, but the next week you may get 4. So that's just kind of how it works with me. It just comes down to a time game of getting that material cranked out to you guys. But really, I'm pleased with you guys. You guys have really brought a lot of new things to the table as far as me to be able to work on and some things like that. So I appreciate each and every one of you for that. I'm always sending out emails, always answering questions, and some of you even call me. So with that being said, I'm trying to give back as much as I can receive all at the same time and just kind of work with you guys through everything that we need to work through. And guys, if you're not learning while you're doing it wrong. Let's always stay learning. Let's always stay positive. Let's always head in the right direction with everything that we're doing. So you guys can catch me on the next one. Thanks. Bye.